I asked ChatGPT about the top 5 reasons why someone might not feel their left hamstring in a Postural Restoration Institute technique called the 90-90 hip lift. And it gave me 5 answers that were pretty bad. And so I will compare ChatGPT's answers with my answers from someone who's been doing this for 14 years, and we'll see where we differ. Now to the issue at hand. According to ChatGPT, what are the top 5 reasons you don't feel the left hamstring during a 90-90 hip lift technique? All right, number 1, according to ChatGPT, pelvis is rotated, shifted, common in PRI patterning. Many people, it's not PRI patterning, it's called the human experience of right dominance, but whatever. Many people naturally live in a left AIC pattern. Pelvis shifted forward on the left, rotated back on the right. True, not bad. This puts the left hamstring on stretch and disengaged while the right hamstring is in an easier position to fire. Okay. Fix. Make sure you truly posterior tilt and gently shift your left knee slightly higher than the right. Fail, complete fail. And the number 1 reason, ChatGPT just failed. If you shift your left knee slightly higher than the right, hip, knee go together. If you shift your left knee higher, that's going to bring your left hip higher. That just puts you back over into the left AIC pattern. That puts you back over on your right side. Of course you wouldn't feel your left hamstring. So just right there, ChatGPT failed miserably. And because it's modeling, I don't know, I'm not an expert on artificial intelligence, but I know it has to be modeled and has to just synthesize tremendous amounts of information. Did someone actually write that? Like, that is, if someone actually wrote that the fix to feel the left hand, if you don't feel your left hamstring, is to turn your pelvis to the right, Lord, oh Lord, we are in trouble. So again, that sounds like it came from someone who doesn't even understand the first basic tenet of postural restoration. So what you would not want to do is, number 1, not turn your pelvis to the right. You would not bring your left knee and your left hip forward. You would do the opposite. But that's not even in part of the technique, because this is just a hip lift, no hip shift. So number 1 is a complete fail, complete and utter fail. So what would my number 1 be? Number 1 reason, most people probably not wearing shoes, or they're not wearing the proper sneakers, or they're not wearing shoes at all. That comes up a lot. Or they simply, again, they don't know how to do the technique, and they are not using their references of a left heel and right arch. If you're pulling down with both heels at the same time, then yeah, you're probably going to feel your right hamstring more because the brain defaults to the right side. So you would have to take your awareness off of the right heel and bring it to the arch of the right foot while you're still pulling your left heel down. So I think that's one of the more common reasons people do not feel their left hamstring. And I would say that's probably number 1 in my experience. But of course, assuming they're doing it correctly to begin with. If you're new to my channel, I'm a postural restoration credentialed provider in Chatham, New Jersey. That's where I do my in-person sessions. I also do some online consulting. You can find that information on my website, which the link is down in the details. I also have a free download if you want to know more about the science of postural restoration. That is also on my website, and the link is in the details as well. If you like this video, could you please share it, like, comment, or just subscribe to the channel? Thanks. Okay, number 2, right side dominance. Well, yeah, most people rely on their right hip and back muscles more in daily posture. Okay, this creates an imbalance where the left hamstring struggles to catch up. Fix. Intentionally think about the left heel dragging down the wall more than the right. Okay, there you go. It's kind of, but yeah, it's kind of there. That could work. But for a lot of people, unless they bring their awareness to the arch of the right foot rather than the right heel, it doesn't matter how much they try to drag down the left, they can't overcome the brain's sense of their right heel. So you got to take away that right heel. It's just like a right molar. They're going to oversense it. So right side dominance, yeah, people are stuck on the right side. They struggle to get off of the right side and onto their left side. So yeah, right side dominance is not a bad answer. The fix, though, the fix wouldn't work most likely. they would have to get their brain to not, they'd have to get their sense off of their right heel. If you keep your left heel and your right heel, the brain still might default to the right heel. So arch of the right foot, heel of the left. Okay, number 3, hip flexors, quads taking over on the left. If the left hip flexor or quad is gripping, it blocks hamstring recruitment. Keep toes relaxed. That makes whatever. That's not a cue I would use. Think about pulling with your heel, not pushing with your quad. So there is a fine line. Some people, they pull down, but they don't push in enough. Other people, they just push into the wall with their heel and they don't pull down. So they don't pull down correctly or effectively. So you kind of have to find the happy medium of how much to push in and how much to pull down. But the left hip flexor or quad is gripping. I don't know what that's even supposed to mean. The left hamstring will turn on when your brain understands the appropriate sensory references. It's really never an issue that the quad itself or the hip flexor itself won't turn off. It may not turn, those two muscle groups may not turn off, but not because the hip flexor or the quad is just saying, you know, I'm just going to keep hanging on. It's because your brain is not sensing the appropriate areas of your body to allow for that left quad and hip flexor to turn off. It's never a facilitation issue, meaning muscles don't get tight or overactive for no reason. It's because the brain is directing it to in one way or another. So to get the left quad or hip flexor to turn off, yeah, you do need your left heel. But if the left heel is not working, it's because something somewhere on the right side is not letting go. Often the neck. Often you can't expand your rib cage with air as you breathe. It could be hip capsules on either side, posterior hip capsules on either side that are still too tight. So yeah, by default, if you can't feel your left hamstring, most likely your left hip flexor and your left quad are overactive, but simply trying to address the quad or the hip flexor probably won't do it. They're only staying overactive because of the pattern. You haven't inhibited or turned off the brain's need to use that quad or hip flexor. You never gave it another reason. So focusing on just the quad or the hip flexor may not really accomplish much. Okay, number 4, glute dominance on the left. Sometimes the left glute does the work of tucking the pelvis instead of the hamstring. Move your left foot a touch farther from the wall. This weakens the glute and favors the hamstring. I have no clue what that means. So yeah, that's bad. That's just nonsensical. What's generally happening with the left glute is when your pelvis is turned to the right, your left glute is externally rotating the left leg and having an influence on the left ilium to keep you over on the right side. So that's the role of the left glute's issue, is generally that it's being overused to hold you over on your right side. So that number 4 doesn't really make sense. And again, it must have gotten it from somewhere. And that's pretty crappy information. Okay, number 5, back arching, not fully tucked on the left. If your low back stays arched, your left hamstring won't catch. I don't know where it's getting this catch from. Often, your lower back, yes, it might be too overarched. Yes, that's true. Often people tilt more easily on the right side, but leave the left side extended. That's because you're over on the right side. So focus on flattening your entire low back evenly, especially the left side, into the floor before breathing. Okay, I mean, yeah, but again, the problem is to flatten your left lower back, your left hip has to come back, your left ilium has to come back. But if that's not happening, simply flattening your back is not necessarily going to do it because it's staying overarched for a reason. It's usually coming from something on the right side. But when you have a right neck, a right rib cage, a right posterior hip capsule, it could be a left posterior hip capsule. It could be a right adductor. There's a lot of things. And we're not even talking about the cranium, jaw, vision, teeth. Something on the right side or the left lower back, because they kind of go together, is not letting go for you to then flatten your back easily. So your back should naturally flatten as you pick your butt up. If it doesn't, Well, something's holding on. The dominant pattern over on the right side has not let go yet. So you have to find the place that's holding you up. That can only be done through testing. You got shoulder tests, neck tests, leg tests, and those tests mean something. When a test is limited, and it shouldn't be limited, you know there is a restriction that will prevent you from pulling your pelvis back on the left and flattening your left lower back. That's the key to all this. Just trying to flatten your back is not the answer. That's why you can't really do it by yourself. You need somebody who knows what they're doing, because the testing tells you what needs to be done. The restriction that you're finding will tell you why that person can't get their left lower back to flatten. But again, that could come in a lot of different areas. So back to Chat GPT, quick cues for the left hamstring. Imagine your left heel is pulling the wall down, not pushing into it. Yeah, that could work. Keeping your left toes soft. Don't drive with the quad. Meaningless to me. Tuck your tailbone under evenly. Feel both sit bones lift slightly. Yeah, that's the basic movement though. If you can't do it, it's not because you can't do it, it's because it's not being, the movement is, your brain's not allowing it because something's staying too tight. Sometimes it helps to put a ball between your knees and squeeze just a little bit. This brings the left hamstring in. Well, it would bring the left adductor in, which could then bring the left hamstring in. But a ball between your knees is part of the technique anyway. Does that mean people are actually trying to do the 90-90 hip lift with no ball? Then you're not doing the technique. If you consistently can't find the left hamstring, PRI often prescribes left hamstring activation drills before going into the 90-90. Absolutely wrong. I have never heard of that in my life. That's another BS take from people who don't know what they're doing, because obviously ChatGPT got this from somewhere. You don't do left hamstring. The 90-90 is a left hamstring activation drill, if you want to call it a drill. It's not, but whatever. It just makes no sense. There are no hamstring drills to find your hamstrings in a technique that you should be able to find your hamstrings very, very easily. So a lot of bad information out there, a lot of bad, and ChatGPT is cataloging it and spitting it back to you. Now, ChatGPT also offered, was so nice of it, to give me a diagram and directions on how to do it. And this is the diagram. And I can't really make sense of it. First of all, the hip angle is horrible. It's not 90 degrees. And then I guess those are the arms at the side. Yeah. So that's ChatGPT. If you're doing it like that, you're in trouble. That's not going to work. So here's what it really looked like. My butt's already in the air. That's why my knees are a little bit higher than my ankles. That's what it should look like. So ChatGPT is not, at this point in time, going to be an effective explainer of postural restoration techniques, because unfortunately it's modeling a lot of poor information that it's obviously finding on the internet. I did an online consultation this week with someone who thought that they had been doing PRI with someone online. And in fact, they weren't doing anything remotely close to PRI. And I don't know who this individual was. I don't know who this person was working with. The name was not familiar to me. I know someone else that person is then affiliated with, who is not credentialed by the Postural Restoration Institute. So if you don't know this, whoever you're doing this with, postural restoration, because it's complicated, it's really complicated. If you're working with someone who's not credentialed, meaning you can't find them on the PRI website under credentialed providers, you really don't know what they know. And you cannot, this is complicated stuff. You cannot assume that because they have a big social media following that they actually know postural restoration. So what should they have? Well, in the very least, they will have one of these. Postural Restoration Institute, credential. I am PRT, postural restoration trained since 2000, what year was it? 2018, I believe. If they're not credentialed, again, you don't know what they know. You can't assume because someone has a large following that they actually know what they're doing. You have to keep that in mind. And remember, the credentialing is just the bare minimum. They went through a process. They took all the required courses. They actually put together an application. They demonstrated that they know how to use PRI. They flew out to Lincoln, Nebraska, and they went through the credentialing process. If someone doesn't go through that process, are they really dedicated? Maybe, maybe not. You got to just be curious. What else do I have? Well, PRI Director's Dedication Award. Now, most people are not going to have that, but I'm pretty sure I'm the only one on YouTube that does have this. You got to be really, really, really dedicated to this type of science to get one of these. And I don't show it off, but does it mean something to me? Yeah, because I put in a hell of a lot of work on this particular subject.